Healing through humor. Chapter 2. Love and Marriage. Finding the right one. Men and dogs. One makes men chase women they have no intention of marrying. The same urge that make dogs chase cars they have no intention of driving. City Slicker. My wife and I went to a dude ranch in Texas. The cowboy preparing the horses asked if she wanted a Western or English saddle, and she asked what the difference was. When he told her one had a horn and one didn't, she replied, "The one without the horn is fine. I don't expect we run into too much traffic." Man with hands over the eyes of the woman. If you can't guess who is in three guess, I am going to kiss you. Women, Jack Frost, Santa Claus, and Christopher Columbus. Man with hands over the eyes of the woman. If you can't guess who it is in three guesses, I am going to kiss you. Woman, Jack Frost, Santa Claus, and Christopher Columbus. A feminist walked into a bar and had a sign marked, "For men only." "I'm sorry, ma'am," said the bartender. "We only serve men in this place." "Great," she said. "I'll take two of them." Stressing the importance of large vocabulary. An English teacher told the class, "Use a word 10 times and it will be your for life." In the back of the room, a fat young lady closed her eyes and was heard chanting under her breath, "Charlie, Charlie, 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 Charlie." A young man was attempting to worm his way into affection of a beautiful young lady. "I don't have much as Bill Gates," he said. "I don't have expensive house or car like Bill Gates. I can't afford to buy you fancy diamonds and pearl like Bill Gates. But I love you." The young lady said, "That's nice. Now tell me more about this Bill Gates." Heading down the aisle, a man and a woman are standing at a cocktail party, and the woman remarked, "You know, you look like my third husband." "How many times have you been married?" asked the man. "Twice," replied the lady. "All in the family." Alicia are very impressed with her boyfriend's loving parents. "They are so thoughtful," Alicia said one night to Michael. "Why, I noticed that your dad even brings your mom a cup of hot coffee in bed every morning." After a time, Alicia and Michael were engaged and then married. On the way from the wedding to the reception, Alicia again remarked on Michael's loving parents and even mentioned the coffee in bed. "Tell me," she said, "does he run in the family?" "Yes, sure does," replied Michael. "I take after my mother." Polygamy. A little boy was attending his first wedding. After the service, his older cousin asked him, "Do you know how many women a man can marry?" 16. The boy responded. His cousin was amazed that he offered an answer so quickly. "How do you figure that?" "Easy," the little boy said. "All you have to do is add it up. Like the preacher said, for better for worse, for richer, for poorer. Weddings. Little Mary was at her first wedding and gaped at the entire ceremony. When it was over, she asked her mother, "Why did the lady change her mind?" Her mother asked, "What do you mean?" "Well, she went down the aisle with one man and came back with another one." Quieting those nosy ants. Old aunt used to come to me at the wedding, poking at me in the ribs and crackling, telling me, "You are next." They stopped doing that after I started doing the same thing to them at funeral. Marriage. Two women were discussing marriage, and one said, "My husband and I had been married 25 years, and every night my husband has complained about the food. He has not one night without complaining about the food." The other woman said, "That's awful. Does it bother you?" The first one said, "Not in the slightest." Said the other woman, "You must be a saint." To which the first woman replied, "No, why should I object? Many people don't like the food they cook." And the good news. A young woman brought her fiancé home to meet her parents. After dinner, her mother told her husband to find out about the young man. So the young woman's father took the young man into his study to discuss things man to man. "So, what are your plans, young man?" asked her father. "I am a Bible scholar," the young man replied. "A Bible scholar, said the father said. "Admirable. But what will you do to provide a nice house and life for my daughter?" "I will study," the young man replied. "God will provide for us." "And how will you buy her beautiful engagement ring such as she deserves?" asked the father. "I'll concentrate on my studies," the young man answered. "God will provide for us." "The children?" asked the father. "And children?" asked the father. "How will you support the children?" "Don't worry, sir. God will provide," replied the fiancé. The conversation proceeded like this for quite an amount of time. Every time the father asked a question, the young man always replied with, "God will provide." Later, after the young man had left, the mother asked the husband, "How did it go?" The father answered, "He has no job and no plan, but the good news is he sings, 'I am God.'" Happy father of the bride. All eyes were on the radiant bride as her father escorted her down the aisle. They reached the altar and the wedding groom. Then the beautiful bride kissed the father and placed something in his hand. They surprised her father so much that he dropped the object. He had not expected her to give him anything at the front of the church. Rifle laughter waved through the sanctuary as the guests watched as he bent down and picked up his credit card. Starting life together. Modern times. A listening bride called her mother one evening in tears. "Oh, Mom, I tried to make grandmother's meatloaf for dinner tonight, and it turned out just awful. I followed the recipe exactly, and I know I have the recipe right because it's the one you gave me. But it just didn't come out right, and I'm so upset. I want this to be so special. What could I have done wrong? Her mother replied smoothly, well, dear, let's go through the recipe. You read it out loud and tell me exactly what you did at each step, and together we'll figure it out. Okay, the bride sniffed. Well, it starts out. Take 50 cents worth of ground beef. New bride, I fixed your dessert, favorite dessert for you tonight. Coconut pudding. Wait until you see. New groom. Oh, that's great. What's that big lump in the middle? New bride. That's the coconut. Two can live as cheaply as one, for half as long. Debugging. A couple honeymooned at the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C. The bride was concentrated that the room was bugged. But the groom said, "Don't worry, I'll check." So she looked behind the drapes, behind the pictures, and under the rug. There he found the disc with 4 screws, unscrewed them, and threw them and the disc out the window. The next morning, the hotel manager asked, "How was your stay? How was your room? How was the service?" "Why all these questions?" asked the groom. "Well," explained the manager, "the people in the room under you complained of the chandelier falling on them." A newly married couple returned from their honeymoon. As they got off the plane at the crowded airport, the bride said, "Darling, let's make the people think that we have been married a long time." "Oh dear," said husband, "you carry the bags." Who's in control? A husband was advised by a psychiatrist to assert himself. "You don't have to let your wife handpang you. Go home and show you are the boss," advised the psychiatrist. Of course, the husband took the doctor's advice. He hopped in his car and rushed home. There he slapped the door, shook his fist in his wife's face, and growled, "Woman, from now on, you are taking orders from me. I want my support right now. And when you get it on the table, go upstairs and lay out my best clothes. I'm going out with my boys, and you are going to stay at home where you belong. And here's another thing. Do you know who's going to comb my hair, adjust my fan, and when tie my bow tie?" I certainly do," said the wife calmly without even looking up. The Undertaker. The Undertaker.